الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جزيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. ثم أما بعد, my dear respected brothers and sisters, towards the end of the year, people usually look back at the year past and try to evaluate themselves and to see what went right and what went wrong and what kind of success they've achieved and their failure, and how to welcome a new year. And today I just want to talk about two ayat in Surah Al-Fajr that sometimes help us understand how to evaluate ourselves and how to measure success. Because everybody has a definition of success. What is success? And to some, success is to be safe, not to fall, not to make mistakes. And that's a very limited definition of success. Yes, we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protection and safety and health, and we wish for all these things. But as believers also we understand whatever happened that we don't like, it also comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it should, and instead of breaking us or keeping us confused, it should actually strengthen us intellectually and spiritually. Al-Quran actually directed the Prophet ﷺ and the believers to have better understanding of the acts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how things work in this world. In Surah Al-Fajr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الْإِنسَانُ إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ رَبُّهُ فَأَكْرَمَهُ وَنَعَمَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَكْرَمَنِ وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانَنِ. Kalla, which means no, this is not what you think. And as for man, when his Lord tries him and thus is generous to him and favors him, he says, my Lord has honored me. And pay attention to the word test that comes with generosity. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives someone, believer or non-believer, especially for the believers, we understand that's a test also. And some take this as a sign of Allah's approval and satisfaction. And the opposite is also true. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tries him and restricts his provision, قَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ, he says, my Lord has humiliated me. And that's a wrong way to look at success and consider success. We always measure success, getting new jobs, making more money, buying bigger house, and better car, and so on and so forth. And as a result of that, get a higher level in the society, social status. That is not necessarily the full definition of success from spiritual perspective. So many people used to think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not happy with me because He's not giving me what I want. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not fulfilling my dreams and my hopes? Why I keep trying doing something, but it's not working as I want it to be? Why Allah gives these people so much and not giving me as much? So some who got so much, they think this is a sign of Allah's pleasure. And those who went through some troubles, failure, hardship, difficulties, they take also this as a sign of Allah's humiliation to us. Some believers also think this way. And we always ask ourselves, why these difficulties happening to me? Is it a sign of Allah's anger? Is it a sign of Allah's test? How do we know? As Taraf Abd al-Abd said in his very famous poetry, in the pre-Islamic Arabic poetry, فَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبِّي كُنْتُ قَيْسَ بْنَ عَاصِمٍ وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبِّي كُنْتُ عَمْرَ بْنَ مَرْثَدٍ فَأَصْبَحْتُ ذَا مَالٍ كَثِيرٍ وَطَافَ بِي رِجَالٌ كِرَامٌ سَادَةٌ لِمُسَوِّدٍ. Taraf Abd al-Abd says that if Allah wants, I could have been like Qais ibn Asim or Amr ibn Marthad, two individuals who are known of having so many children and so much wealth. If Allah wants, I could have been like these people. So Allah did not want this, and that's something that He's questioning. Why is this happening to me? And sometimes as believers, because of our weakness, because of our desires, because of our ambition, which is normal and natural, we always question Allah's action. Why this is happening to us? Why so many people who are ignorant and not as smart are having a very comfortable life, and here you have highly educated people and not getting, even close from them. As one of the poets also said that كم عاقل 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 أعيت مذاهبه وجاهل جاهل تلقاه مرزوقا هذا الذي ترك الأفهام حائرة وصير العالم النحرير زنديقا. This will actually confuse people. People cannot understand why this wise person, knowledgeable, highly educated, is not as happy and as successful, with this definition of success, like other people who are so ignorant and they're not even educated, but they got so much. This happens. And this is what keeps people always confused, and people question themselves, and even sometimes question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from this, we need to understand the concept of test or bala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that this is not what you think. The whole life is a test. The whole life is a test. And when you get so much, you need to understand that's bala. That's a test for you. And when you got so little, that's also bala for you. And as many ulama said that it's easier for people to pass the test of poverty, but it's more difficult for people to pass the test of being wealthy. Because what happens when calamities or troubles happen to us, in fact, as believers, we should submit to Allah's will. And this actually should make us think and reflect. Many people came back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after a big trauma happened to them. Many people start thinking about the value of their life when they lost loved ones. Most of the thinkers, philosophers, writers, novelists, they produce the best of ideas emerging from a very tough experience. Very difficult, very tough. And this is what makes people really think and reflect about the value of their life and how to measure success. The children of the most wealthy people are not as innovative and creative as the children who grew up in tough circumstances. It is the pain, it is the suffering that makes people think and produce and innovate and contribute. Not only to think of being safe. Alhamdulillah, I'm safe, nothing wrong happened to me. That's good. Alhamdulillah, be thankful to Allah. We should always ask Allah for that, but that alone is not enough. We need to think about how can we contribute, how can we give, how can we make our community a better community. How can we share our experience with others? Another important benefit that comes from bala or test or difficulties or hardship is that it makes us more experienced, more mature. Sometimes we say this person has been tested. He has been a leader in a very tough time. Very good politician. He brought safety and security to his community in a very tough time. He's an expert. He has been tested as a leader or as an individual, and now he's matured. All these difficulties and hardship made him a much wiser and experienced person. Those who grew up in a very comfortable life are not tested. Their iman, their faith, their experience, their knowledge, their hikmah is not tested. But there's those who suffer as individuals or as communities. And it's also amazing that test or bala or hardship also helps us understand our limits. We are much stronger than what we think about ourselves. We are much stronger than what we think about ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us always to know our limits. What can we do? What can we tolerate? Oftentimes we say that I cannot live without this. If this did not happen, I don't see any meaningful life. My children, my parents, my partner, my business, I cannot live without it. I cannot imagine. I get this kind of illness that people have. I cannot imagine being in prison. I cannot imagine losing my business over this and that. But we can. People are very resilient. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to discover or rediscover ourselves. We have seen people, Muslims and non-Muslims, nations, who suffered tremendous civil wars, tremendous natural calamities. And people survive because this is the will to live, this resilience that we do not know anything about until we go through some difficulties or hardship. We have seen our Syrian brothers and sisters and families who went through so much wars and destructions, and then immigration, and then camps, and then going from one country to another. Those who tried to cross the Mediterranean Sea, and those who were not welcomed in new countries, and many of them were very successful in establishing themselves and finding their way and moving on in their life. So we as individuals and families and communities, we need just to learn how to move on in our life. Keep the interpretation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, submit to Allah. We don't know exactly why Allah is doing this. Sometimes we don't understand. But what we know is that we need to always keep our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and move forward in our life. We should not wish for hardship to happen to us. In fact, the opposite is true. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, Sallallahu al-afwa wal-afiyya, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness and for well-being. Al-afiyya, be safe. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for safety all the time, but be ready, because there's no guarantee that you get everything you like in this world and nothing wrong will happen to you. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala corrected this misunderstanding, that people can think that we can make any claim without being tested. And bala and this actually is also very useful in helping us understand the distance between what we believe and how we act. And sometimes we can see such huge gap between the two. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe Allah is in control, believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can relieve you. You know that Allah hears your dua and knows your concerns. You believe in patience for the sake of Allah. You believe in tawakkul ala Allah, putting your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all things theoretically we repeat and we read about, and we have no problem believing in it. But you need to go through some circumstances through which you can examine yourself. All these concepts, patience, love, trust, truthfulness, these are what our ulama call al-maqamat, or ahwal. These are levels of iman. One needs to go from one level to another. Hardship, difficulties, help us achieve that. Help us understand the strength of our iman. Imam al-Shafi'i was asked once, هل يبتلى المؤمن أو هل يمكن المؤمن قبل أن يبتلى? Will the believer be established? Established means in knowledge and iman and so on. Before he is tested, and Imam al-Shafi'i said he will not be established and empowered until he is tested. This is how we know ourselves. And we continue to know and discover ourselves and understand ourselves. Hardship sometimes is the best way for us to wake up and to think and reflect. Sometimes we have misunderstanding or think negatively about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we get upset with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's okay. That's why we need to always seek Allah's forgiveness. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to ask Allah forgiveness 100 times a day. 100 times a day. Why? Because the more your iman, the more your iman becomes stronger, and the more you improve your iman, your closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more we understand our shortcoming in the past time of our life. The more we grow up, the more we look back and say, wow, how bad we were, how much we have this misunderstanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how much time we did not really rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet ﷺ used to ask Allah forgiveness 100 times a day, because every time you succeed to get closer to Allah, you feel that you have a lot of shortcomings. And that's why, again, we need to measure our iman in the time of difficulties, in the time of hardship. Brothers and sisters, whatever happened in our life happened for a reason. We just need to ask ourselves, can we do something to get out of this difficulty or hardship, or there's nothing we can do? As I said, we can do so many things within what Allah subhanahu, within the power and energy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. And that's why Allah will say, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not ask you to do something beyond your ability. But did we really measure our ability? Or we always quote this ayah, لا يكلف الله نفسا وسعها, as an excuse for not doing anything. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us all. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us success and happiness in this life and the life after. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله اتقوا الله وأطيعوه، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك رزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا، واصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا، وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث فأصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم أصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا إلى أحد من الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. اللهم كن مع إخواننا المسلمين المستضعفين في أرضك في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم آوهم وانصرهم وأيدهم بتأييدك وانصرهم بنصرك يا رب العالمين وأرحم الراحمين. اللهم اشفنا واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين، وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل، ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. نسألك من كل خير سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وشفاء من كل داء، ونسألك الغنى عن الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اشفنا واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين، وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.